Edition of the Tackle is the 3rd of December 2021. Tarehe ni 3 mwezi wa 11 mwaka 2021. Natumai kwamba uko salama. Mwamka vizuri. It's another Friday, the end of the week and the new month of December. Happy Merry Christmas in advance. It's how many days to Christmas? 22 days to Christmas. 2 days to Christmas. Kwa hivyo kama tutaweza kuonana kabla ya Christmas, I want to wish you a very Merry Christmas. Karibuni sana kwenye show ya leo ya Friday. Tuko na mheshimiwa JOANNA Ngeno na tuko na BICHACHI ambaye amesema yuko dakika 5 ndio atakuwa amefika hapa. As usual, I request that when you join in, please like. When you like, we get to know that you're watching us. And not to like, please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch podcast. This is a tackle that begins now. Tafadhali, tumia salamu wa mahali unatoka. Tumia pale. It's on WhatsApp. Natumia WhatsApp ndosi. Haya. Asante sana. Thank you so much. Kama kawaida lazima tuende mbele za Mungu tuombe. Alafu basi tukirudi na kuja kuona salamu gani zipo. Alafu basi tulipe madeni pia. Tuanze kazi. Mighty Father, we come before you this morning. We worship you, God, for your name. Thank you for another opportunity to be alive. We thank you even for this show and the conversation that we are about to have. May it edify the fabric of this country. For you pray, trusting and believing in Jesus' name. Amen. Haya. Naona ngono gani kwanza wanaona wameamka. Wacha nitafuta ngono ambao wanaweza wameamka tayari. Alafu lakini kabla ya hiyo tulipa madeni kidogo. Maridadi Motors inakupa nafasi ya kuweza kuagiza gari kwa bei nafuu zaidi. When you pay directly with Maridadi Motors, you get to save up to 300,000 Kenyan shillings. Ukiimport na Maridadi Motors, unaweza kusave up to 300,000 Kenyan shillings. When you import directly with Maridadi Motors, you get to save up to 300,000 shillings. They're also giving you an opportunity to invest your money. If you have some money mahali fulani ambapo imeweza kulala, you can invest your money and get up to 15% returns on your investment. 15% returns on investment. If you put in $1 million bob, unaweza kupata 150,000 extra courtesy of Maridadi Motors import to sell model. Kama pia unataka kuingia kwenye sako, you can save for 2 reasons. If you are saving for a unit, you can save up to 50% total value of the unit. 50% total value of the unit. Alafu nyingine unaanza kuilipia pole pole ukisonga. Alafu pia unaweza weka kama akiba. Hela zako ambazo umeziweka kama akiba, unaweka pia alafu unapata asilimia ya 15 ya faida kwa hela ambazo umeweza kuweka kwenye sako. Na pia kama unataka driving academy, kimbia pale Maridadi Driving Academy uweze kuwa dereva maridadi zaidi. Pale Sparkling Siada Molazwal pale nyuma unaenda pale unashawa gari kwa njia shwari zaidi. Kama uko Karen pia, we have done a new branch hapo Waterfront. The Waterfront kuna branch mpya pale. Kimbia pale uweze kuangalia mambo gani ambayo yanaendelea pale. Kama unajenga pia Rex Roofing, there's no better way to roof than roof with Rex Roofing products. And I've always told you this, there's nothing that's as beautiful as your roof. Kama unapita mahali kidogo ukiona nyumba ambayo ni safi, unasema nyumba hiyo ni mzuri kwa sababu umeweza kuona paa lake. Kwa hivyo Rex Roofing is giving you quality roofing solutions, and we're giving you, extending to you 15% discount on selected roofing solutions products. A 15% discount. We're also still giving you 10% discount on waterproofing materials, that is waterproofing liquid and also APP waterproofing membrane. We're giving you 10% off. Kama pia unatafuta OSB boards, there's no other place to find it than pale Rex Roofing. Rex Roofing roofs your wall, quality roofing shingles, stone coated tiles, na pia inakupa nafasi ya kuweza ku harvest maji with UPVC water harvesting cutters. 100% safe for consumption. Asante sana. That's Rex Roofing as well. Kimbia pale pale pia Eldoret kama unataka kupata mngaro kama hii wakati wa sherehe, mambo ya sherehe na shamra. Kwa hivyo kimbia pale D-Square Wear Ketia Building 4th floor uweze kupata mngaro shwari zaidi. Ukiambia Dandan pia nimekutuma, anaweza kukupa discount hadi ya 20% ama 20%. Haya, bado pia tunakula matunda ni afya. They're telling you sweet tunda is giving you a guarantee of natural dried fruit. Is mango, kuna pineapple, and they're giving an amper. For every amper at only 1,000 shillings you get granola, you get pineapple dried fruit, and you get mango dried fruit as well, and a classic piece of granola from sweet tunda. Tunaenda kusample very shortly, alafu tuweze kujua inakuaje. Lakini wacha niangalia ngono ambao ameweza kuamka pale. Wana Millie Kosgei. Na half kita wanasema nategea. Asante sana. Bolibitongu sasema good morning GB Tackle and Tackle tuned in from Eldoret. Asante sana watu wa nyumbani. Millie Kosgei, good morning. Tackle loud and clear from Western Australia. Hapa tuko locked. This show is addictive. At the diaspora tunatambua the Tackle. Happy to be here. Thank you so much Millie Kosgei for always being a very avid and loyal follower of the Tackle. Asante sana. Nasema happy new month Tackle. Happy new month to you Millie Kosgei. Good to see you. Cheriot Ruta, good morning. Gemalel Babaya, good morning. Watching from Karen. Serem Maina watching from Australia. Ask mheshimiwa kama akona chebunya kwa mfuko. Haya. Mtumia maswali ya mheshimiwa. Sema akona chebunya kwa mfuko atatuambia. Haya watu wa diaspora. Justin Chumbas I to you most tonish. Maureen all the way from Australia. Yeah, Mwana Joanna karibu takola jirabito. Good morning to you. Mosi Tonish, good to see you. Billy Kosgea sawa sare maina hiyo ndio gani? Jebuja dirungu. Kevin lecture you are tuned from Ethiopia. Thank you so much guys from Ethiopia as well. It's a pleasure to have you. Colin Kipkoske. Good morning jirabito Mweben following. Thank you so much. Asante sana watu wangu wa Mweben, nashukuru sana kuwaona. DKH boy, good morning guys. As last to collect asante Obisang. A million bob tuned in. Yes, only a million bob. If you invest a million bob in your import to sell model, you get one up to 15% returns on your million. Kibrojiko Romicha, hey, long time. Kitambo sana watu wa Nakuru City. Good morning from Nakuru City CBD. City dwellers listening in live. Salimia ndobo Joanna ngeno. Hashtag tetekolo sana Kibrojiko Romicha. Lakini, jameni, Nakuru ilikuwaje city? Nakuru imekuwaje city? Nakuru kitembea kidogo 2 seconds tao nimeisha. Hiyo status ya city sijui mlitoa, sijui mlionga nani, lakini we still need to interrogate for Kibrojiko Romicha, but we still need to demand back the name the city from Eldoret town. From Kericho, from Nakuru town. Hata Kericho na Eldoret wamefikia status ya city, lakini basi mambo ndio hivyo. James Nyokie, good morning Gerald, listening from Kilgoris town Narok. Asante sana tu Narok. Mili Kosgea anasema Maureen, kumbe hata wewe uko locked. The tackle proudly sponsored by Diaspora. Asante sana tu Diaspora, na mtu make kakitu bana, watu wa Diaspora tu manene kakitu za zingine. Mili haya, Moses Kamau, good morning citizens of the 612th West African nation. May God grant you all a very fruitful and peaceful day. Alright, Beran Wakesa, good morning. Because did you say tunda is a million? Hapana, nilisema tunda ni 1,000 shillings only. 1,000 shillings only unapata ampa yako ya sweet tunda. Only 1,000 shillings. Rada kiweka wesaba, good morning Cheptap Kibiri. That's good morning to you. Mamusha Cheptap Kibiri. That's Chepchirchir kutometa. Good to see you Chepchirchir AGB. Farid Faraji, good to see you my brother. Mpotea, good morning. Kilimani tukondani. Kale Pambua, good morning from Umoja. Onda bwana Mai Musindalo, Kale nategea mkuu logged in from Kaka nategea mkuu logged in from Kakamega County Musanda Ward. Asante sana watu wa Kakamega. Aaron Siringi watching from Phoenix USA. Alright, kuna maleto Phoenix. Alright. Farid Faraj, good morning team. Good morning to you. Nyaluke Kibed watching from Nyeri. Dan Ruta hali yake. Asante sana ndugu yangu. Kimgano ngetich igati Jebo Bumbu mwenyewe. Jebo Bumbu mwenyewe. Alright. Salimia Joanna ngeno, a fearless daring principal Kalenjin leader. Ngong the Kalenjin land is banking on you going forward. Nuru Hamed, tuned from Huru Bay, Lake Victoria, keeps us Cape Candy, tuned from Eldoret. Silas Mukwa, Karen Massive, Sadimi Androbongong. Asante sana Joseph Kiai watching from KNH. Mutai Benson, good morning. Bitok watching from EMURRUA. DIKIR, we wish our MP to be CS or PS in the near future. Keja graphics from Diaspora, habari ya asubuhi. Mpotea sana Keja. Kale Pambua, Kale from Umoja. Manu Jaisanga, morning tuned in at the Mushamil. Sama Musiam tuned in from the Musiam. Jirongo Cyrus DIKIR watching live from Nairobi. Ikatu Wanondobongena. Muhammad Abdullahi, good morning Kenya, one love. Good morning to you Muhammad Abdullahi. Kibitaitas, good morning watching from Florida. David Michael Kitilia from Makueni County, tukondani kabisa. Kirui Robert, say hi to my friend Joanna. We are proud of this brave man. We need courageous men like this one. Jedima Bior, good morning watching from Sudan. Thank you as well guys from South Sudan, and thank you so much diasporans for making this show the biggest show under the sun. This is the best show that's always tuned in. Guys always tuned in the morning for the best information and the best debate, unbiased, to give everyone an opportunity to express themselves in the best way they can find possible. This is the only platform that ensures that Kenyans are able to converse in the easiest way possible. Edwin Juma, good morning from Muscat. Good to see you Edwin Juma. Gladys Korir, good morning. Daniel Ndiritu, good morning, logged in from Qatar. Asanteni sana the guys as well from on Facebook and YouTube. Keep quiet Chariot. Why did he dump UDA for independent? Ask Neno. Yeah, Morgan, good morning. Tani mastuka. Okay, washipia microphone yaka.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. It's been a whole year.
Yeah, sure.
You left us Ukanda. Can you just dump us carelessly like that?
I just went to the village.
You're going to kutafuta kura.
Yeah.
Okay. Nasikia kwanza umeama. Hata kabla hatujaenda mambo mingi nasikia umeama hatuko independent.
Ndio tunaingia sasa, tunahama aje na ndio tunaingia. How do you?
So hii story inatoka wapi?
Hiyo story ni ya mtu tunataka kuleta.
Salimia wa Kenya.
Asante. Kwanza I want to say hello to everybody. Nataka nisalimie wa Kenya mahali kokote waliko. Grateful this morning that we've had this opportunity to interact also with the people of this country through this program of the tackle.
Thank you.
Yep.
Right. Sasa ground inasemaje kwanza Narok County?
Ground Narrow County is okay, despite a few challenges here and there. But I would say by my own analysis, things are good. Things are working in the right direction. We, as a people of Narok, actually, what has been a circle of events almost in every election hearing period may not be seen this time around, because mostly the antagonistic communities and political antagonists have come together, despite a few divides. But I believe those are divides that will be political divides, not so antagonistic. And therefore, what I look at Narok right now is that we're in the right direction, and we are doing good in terms of development and in terms of political development.
All right. So who is likely to take the gubernatorial flag in Narok County? Looks like it's a crazy ground this time round.
As for now, I'm not so sure. But what I'm sure about is that a candidate from UDA will take the gubernatorial position. That is what I'm sure of. 80% to 90% would be UDA.
80% to 90% will be UDA. Yeah. All right. Okay, tukuja kwenye nchi. Last week or this week actually we had a State of the Nation address. But before we go to that, even talk about the State of the Nation in the aspect of the president, what do you think is the State of the Nation as Honorable Joanna Ngong Ngeno Jebabumbu?
Thank you, Gerald. Generally, I would say that as a Kenyan and from a perspective of a Kenyan, I would say the current situation in Kenya is not badly off. Unlike a few months ago and maybe 1 year ago, when we kind of had some serious tensions in the country, based on the activities that probably were created by the situation the government created. But eventually people came to terms with it. And as we speak, it has become normal politically that actually this is a direction people are moving towards. Number two, remember also almost for the last 2 years we have had this corona situation in our country, ravaging our country. And it has turned, what I would say that the economy of the country has been ravaged. The normalcy in our country has also not been that good. The health situation in our country also has not been good. We've had so many deaths and so many hospitalizations. Yes. And of course, the cost of medication for the corona
is very
is I would say I think this is the highest cost that most of the people have ever met. Yes. And remember also the corona ailments were never covered by the NHIF. Yes. And therefore the cost of hospitalization was made by the individuals, either individually or communally. So I would say this corona thing has almost brought the country on its knees, and especially even the persons, the people themselves, because it was the people who were meeting the costs of hospitalization and medication and all that. So for the last 2 years we have had that kind of problem in our country. And economy, of course, we have had a very serious economic lapse. I don't know if it was because of the corona pandemic, but it was also because of the government in operation. So we have had those few challenges for the past two years, and we are heading now towards the end of the term. I mean, the 5-year term. And we are hoping that new changes will make this country come back to its vibrancy in terms of economic mostly, because politics is like a circle. It comes and go. But you see, if the country is not developing economically, that is where we will have a lot of problems. So when you look at the state of the nation right now, the biggest challenge that we have is that of economic lapse. A very serious economic lapse, which our country is undergoing. And there's no solution on site as we speak now. And I think what the people of this nation are looking for is maybe a political solution, so that maybe the change of government, the change of both the county governments and the national governments might bring that kind of reprieve to the situation that we are facing currently in this nation.
And do you think then we're going to find a turnaround through politics as we head towards 2022? Do you think the turnaround is going to be in politics?
Of course, every government the world over, the economic situation in every country it depends on the political or the administration.
Yes.
If you are to look at how even many other countries developed, depended on the administration in place. Some presidents come and destroy the economy of the country, and some presidents, when they take over, they put in place very serious measures that change around that turn around the economy. So I would say these are political situations which can be also turned around, depending on the kind of presidents that we will have, the kind of person who will be leading the country, and who will be candid enough to take measures that will, there's so many things that make the economy of the country to lapse, like what we have right now, like corruption, which is one of the major issues that make the country economically down. Corruption. So if we could have a president who would turn around the corruption in the country, somebody who can address the question of corruption and deal with it firmly, then obviously we will avoid a lot of money being stolen. Number two is also wastage, which I think, in my opinion, if we could have somebody who can address the question of wastages in both our government institutions and of course even private sector, because usually the private sector normally do business with the government. Therefore, if we address the question of wastage in both sides or both ways, then obviously we are going to have a serious economic changes. And then there is also the question of, other than the question of wastage and corruption, there is also the question of how do we develop, who can put measures or who can put in place very serious measures that will spur the economy of the country. When you look at some models, we normally have several models which people are proposing. But obviously the best model is industrialization, majorly industrialization, because from there is when people can really, if Kenya is an agricultural country, and if we could have as a country things to do with serious mechanization and also good industries, vibrant industries that can develop the products that we have, so that when we want to sell, we want to market, we want to export, we already do it ourselves in our country. Then obviously that is what can spur the economy of the country. People who engage in farming, if they have factories, like for example the sugar industry, the tea industry, the maize industry, the pyrethrum sector, and the milk industry, if we had factories that could develop these products that we have locally at a lower price, then obviously the output will be huge, will not be expensive, and we can have that opportunity of exporting even to other countries. So I think industrialization, the question of industries in our country should be what we need to be addressing seriously, so that the local mwananchi can easily access the market for their produce, and that is where we can develop, or we can make money circulate within the pockets of the ordinary mwananchi.
Okay. All right, so let's look at the newspapers here, the more headlines. Let's look at the headlines here. And saying Taifa Leo nasema wataka suti tu. Ruto Raila wasisitiza kuwa wanataka wafuasi wao wapige kura wapige kura waniaji wa vyama vyao pekee 2022. Naibu wa rais kiongozi wa ODM Mudavadi na Wetangula washikilia kuwa wanaowaunga mkono sharti wawanie vyao katika tiketi za vyama vyao. Kwanza wana matumaini kuwa mpangilio utashawishi wafuasi wao kujitokeza kwa wingi kupiga kura kuhakikisha uthabiti katika serikali zao ikiwa watashinda. This is about the one party, and I'm saying UDA has really tried to push this, saying that they're not going to take in people with other parties. They're going to, if you want to join us, dissolve your party and then join in. What is the danger of this?
I'm not seeing any danger in that argument. It's only that the only problem that we normally have, the only challenge that we normally have is a party democracy. If parties would want to, we are not actually looking at or staring at reverting the country back to one party state. But what we are looking at is that, like in most developed nations, and where we have had seriously developed democracy, we normally have around 3 to 4 parties. 2 serious major parties and some other 2 or 3 which of course are also parties that some people can run to. The only reason why we have 2 or 3 major parties in most of the developed countries is because people have realized that there is an importance of the importance of a party, especially strong parties. One of the reasons that drive most of these party bosses to form parties and force people to actually join those particular parties, or even persuade people to join those particular parties, is that when you're intending to form a government, obviously there are 3 major things that you must have in your government. You must have a very strong parliament, composed of mostly your party members. This is because if you are form a government and you do not have a very strong parliament members, maybe you don't have members of parliament, you don't have members of the Senate, obviously the policies of the government will be very hard to pass through parliament. So the reason why people would want to root for many people joining their parties is so that when they form the government, they should have a very strong legislature that can help them push the policies of the government. Remember, it is parliament that we appoint or that normally approves the cabinet. If you do not have a very serious, if you do have numbers in parliament, obviously the passage of members of the cabinet will be a hard task to tackle. That is number 1. Number 2, if you want to pass policies, the government policies, of course, each and every administration has its own policies. Yes. They want to have processes or methods that they want to run the country. And those are the issues that needs to be tackled in parliament. And if you do not have a very strong number in parliament, obviously those policies will not pass through. It will have to face a lot of hurdles. The other issue also, of course, is the budget. If the government would wish to have a certain level of budget, if you do not have numbers in parliament, you may not find it easier to deal with the issue of budget. You will always have bottlenecks when passing or trying to pass the budget. There is also another issue of the division of revenue between the counties and the national government. And you know, of course, it is between the Parliament and National Assembly and the Senate. So if you do not have a strong Senate and at the same time a strong National Assembly, there will be always be issues and challenges when of course, you know, the passage of those particular bills. So it is incumbent upon these presidential aspirants to form strong parties and persuade members to join these particular parties. Another issue also is the question of the county governments. You realize that these presidential aspirants would wish to have as many governors as possible in their parties. And most importantly is because, you know, there are issues that you share between among as the national government and the county governments, and you would wish to have those particular you would wish to have as many governors as possible who are pro your government, so that when there are issues that you share, issues that you think you need the support of the county government, you need the cooperation of the county governments, obviously you can push them through. So if you do not have strong counties, I mean, if for example you win the presidency and you do not have as many governors as possible, then obviously you will be facing a lot of hurdles. So that is why you look at what these people want. They want you to vote. Most of these parties will wish to push for the suit which is from MCA to member of parliament.
3-piece suit.
It's not it's
6-piece.
Initially it used to be 3-piece.
That was a very hot suit.
So the reason is that you know, they will want to have MCAs, as many MCAs as possible, who will help the governors to tackle the issues at the county level. They would want to have as many members of parliament who would help the government to tackle the issues at the National Assembly. They would want to have as many senators as possible. That is what Jubilee used to call the tyranny of numbers. And that is why you find in the first 5 years of Jubilee administration, they managed to push so many things because of the tyranny of numbers which they had in parliament. So that is the reason why most of these party bosses want people to vote suit. 6-piece suit.
6-piece suit.
Yep.
That suit could be heavier than we all thought. Anyway, now let's look also at the outline of 6-piece suit. Right. Karibu sana Bichachi. Ukwangi mtu wa kulala lakini sielewi leo kwa nini
I overestimated.
Another headline, but anyway, I think before we get back to the headlines, it looks like there isn't much to pick away from what we are supposed to talk about. But anyway, karibu sana Bichachi.
Asante sana.
All right, maybe say hello to these wonderful citizens.
Poleni sana.
And apologies to them.
I'm even very embarrassed. If I was white, I'd be turning pink right now. Wishing you a pleasure.
Alright, karibu sana. Okay, so what's the state of the nation in your own opinion? Kabla ya rais yake ya kwanza ya 6,000 words. What do you think is the state of the nation?
You know,
Bichachi.
To be honest, we must contextualize Kenya in the view of what is happening globally.
Okay.
Globally, the economy of the world shrunk by $4 trillion US. Globally, we've got supply chain issues causing all manner of inflation across the world. Now, when you see Kenya holding strong at 0.3% growth, then the state of our nation is strong. Meaning that what happened before and what was being done before was enough to withhold the stem of almost 2 years of a pandemic. Now, of course, there are people who would imagine they would have done better, even though they sit in Parliament and Senate. You wonder what stopped them from giving better ideas. They will complain, murmur, and rumor, and yet they sit at power. I would like to tell Kenyans that the person you should listen to least is someone who has the power and tells you they'll do it better tomorrow. And that is the biggest lie Kenyans are facing today. The truth is that our GDP since Kibaki left has more than doubled. Our net road network has grown by over 10,000 kilometers. And anyone who doubts just needs to look outside the window in Nairobi, and I'm sure within a kilometer radius of where you are, there's construction happening. Now people will then say, oh my goodness, what about the debt? Let's discuss the debt. Indeed, Kenya has debt, and it has had debt for a long time. And I will remind Kenyans about the time when Kenya didn't have debt, when Kenya didn't qualify for debt. It was during the time of Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, when we had a president whose job was to meet people at State House and give them money and tell them "Mugaya hivyo hivyo." And what happened? There was no debt, and there was no roads, there was no infrastructure, and those of us who lived in Nakuru, which is now a city, knew it was a 6-hour journey from Nairobi to Nakuru. Now, if you don't want debt, then you also want higher taxes. And when you talk about taxes, the same politicians will complain. Now, this is such a disingenuous crop of politicians, because I know, number one, the government of Kenya cannot incur debt without the support of parliamentarians. They have to sign on it. They have to say yes. And it is not about a tyranny of numbers. And if you want to talk about tyranny of numbers, the people who've sung "They Have Numbers" the most are the ones who decry these bills the most. When fuel is increased by 16%, they go to parliament, pass the same bill, then come out and tell the people standing on wheelbarrows that it is Jubilee, it is President Uhuru Kenyatta who's done it. It is this kind of pretense, naked pretense, that we need to call out and simply face the truth. That if you're going to develop your home and you're middle class like I am, you will have to take debts. Those debts will be painful, but in the long run it will gain. How you know it is gaining? Look at the value of land where roads have been built. Look at the kind of life people are living now that hospitals are in Mukuru, Kwanjenga and Kibera and all of those places. Look at the faces of the people who are facing water and not having water shortages anymore in our slums. Look at those people. But also, let us run away from what I call anecdotal and roadside economics, where you know one person who was fired and therefore the economy is not doing well. You know one person who ran his business badly and it shut down, and you say the economy is not doing well. This is nonsensical. If the economy was not doing well, I would have been here on time. Where did all those cars come from? And you know, people say the economy is crashing. I would invite them. Please, I'll pay for the trip. Let's go to Zimbabwe and find out how an economy feels like it's crashing. This is simple political hiba-jaba, accentuated by people who are unhappy while in office, pretentious to the core, and liars to the Kenyan people. Bold-faced liars.
That was a good lecture. but let me tell you, you know, as much as we might have issues with some personalities, but what I would want to say is that this is Kenya. And you cannot obviously compare Kenya with Zimbabwe. We are not saying
yes, because our economy is not crashing.
Yes, we are not going to compare Kenya with Zimbabwe.
No, I say,
but we need to compare Kenya with also countries that were in the same level and that has always been having sober leadership. And therefore, when we talk about Kenya and Zimbabwe, we are actually underestimating ourselves. Secondly, when you look at the 5 years or the 10 years that we have had with the current administration vis-a-vis the 10 years of Kibaki government, obviously when you talk about debt, Kibaki actually managed to do a lot of things in this country. You remember, I'm actually in agreement with BICHACHI on the question of the Moi administration, especially the last 10 years of Moi administration. It was I would say it was a destruction of the economy of the country. But when Kibaki took over, he made serious changes, especially on infrastructure. But we never had a lot of debts. Kibaki introduced the roads that we are talking about now. I remember when I used to travel from Narok, I would travel from Narok, I go to Nakuru and then to Nairobi. If you were to come to Nairobi, because there were no roads completely. So Kibaki came and made all those changes that we see today. Even Nakuru itself, the portals and all those. But we never had that. We had also the super highways that we are talking about, the bypasses and all that. But we never had serious debts like we do in the current administration. So what we are saying is that maybe maybe debts are better than taxes. That is what BICHACHI is trying to tell us. I'm not a good student of economy, but I don't believe that debts are better than taxes.
Does that mean that Kenyans are not being taxed?
No, he said, I think BICHACHI said, I think BICHACHI alluded.
I'm right here.
Let him finish expressing himself.
I think BICHACHI alluded that debts are not all that bad versus if not to be overtaxed. I think that is what he alluded. Secondly, when you also tell us that we are not the best proponent of complaints, you will also be missing the point, because we are members of parliament elected to oversight, and also and oversighting does not mean we are complaining. That is our role. We oversight. We do legislation, we pass whatever bills, but it is not 100% that those who are in parliament are the ones who are passing those bills. There are those who oppose, there are those who propose, and obviously our major work is to oversight. Once we've passed the budget, we come back and oversight those monies if they have been properly utilized. So the question of saying that the least people who are meant to complain about all these issues are members of parliament should not arise.
All right. Okay. All right.
Can I answer?
Yes. You can
because number one,
although you didn't even give us your own state of the nation,
I
you went straight into Amarigam.
Let's briefly digest what you said. Number one, I did not compare Kenya to Zimbabwe.
Okay.
I said they keep claiming that Kenya's economy is crushed. If you want to look at a crushed economy, you've got to look at Venezuela and Zimbabwe. There's no other option. Number two, he's misled the Kenyan public to say that Kibaki did not take debt. He did take debt. No, just wait. Let me teach you mathematics. You see, when your GDP is worth 10 billion, which it was when Kibaki took over, there's no one who's going to give you debt of 90 billion. It's not going to work.
Okay.
So as our economy grew, we took more debt. So you cannot compare what a poor country or a poor man goes to the bank to take a loan for and what a rich man goes to take a loan from the bank for. Okay, so let's be clear. Kenya's economy today is $100 billion economy. When Kibaki left it, it was a $44 billion economy. And if you don't like these facts, Google. You know, the problem with us Kenyans is we think that our politicians tell us the truth. They don't. They spin it like this. And they say Kibaki didn't take much debt. He couldn't. If you got 44 billion, you'll only take 26. And if you look at what Kibaki left this country in debt with, it was a GDP to debt ratio of around 56%.
Okay. Now we are at 7%.
Wait. He did not have a pandemic. He did not have a pandemic to deal with. Number two, he was dealing with a country that was classified as least developed country. Today we are classified as a developing country. Okay. These are two different realities. And if the politicians would be honest and wanted for us to have an honest conversation, then the honest conversation should be this. Can Kenya develop to the dreams and aspirations that the people of Kenya desire without roads? When a politician who went to school, I assume, can propagate such slogans as Atukuli Barabara, that is a short-sighted human being. Because the truth of the matter is that food that people need today in whichever part of this country, how will it get to them affordably? The jobs that people pray for and dream for, how would they come unless we have a robust infrastructural network? Okay. If we want to undo the sessional paper of 1968 as it was, how will we do it if Moyale is not connected to Nairobi? And how much does it cost to connect Moyale to Nairobi? Okay. These are the issues we must discuss. I am tired of simplifying our politics and trying to pretend that these issues do not affect us. Let us not lie to the people. If you're sitting at home and you're hungry, I feel for you. I understand how it feels to be hungry. I understand how it feels. And then you come up and say that roads don't feed you. No, they do. Right. Because when that road is being constructed, there's a Kenyan there. There's an engineer, there's a road constructor, and he's eating. It may not be your luck that you are one of them, but trust you me, the more roads we build, the more infrastructure we have on the ground, the more we become a hub of international travel, the more we become a hub of commerce, the bigger chance you have of getting out of poverty. Now, the good Mheshimiwa here has said that I should not blame all parliamentarians. Let me tell you why I blame all parliamentarians. If you go to a live broadcast of parliament, unless the president is coming, how many of them are there?
I don't know.
20.
I've never been to parliament
30.
myself.
That's the average. It's 20 or 30 people. And I'll tell you, bad things happen when good people do nothing. The problem with our politicians is they are more active on the street than they're active on parliament. 300 lazy people. You ask them which bills they've passed. Oh, they're here talking, we want a better Kenya. Someone is sitting in parliament. Which bill is on the floor talking about that bottom up you want to bring? Which bill? You want to say, no, sir, tell me, which one?
Let me tell you 3 things. We do legislation.
Yes.
We do it in parliament.
You are supposed
we
to.
do representation.
You are supposed to.
We don't necessarily do it in parliament. We do oversight.
No.
We don't necessarily do it in parliament.
Oversight.
So you see, you're just looking.
Correction.
You're just looking at one
Let me
perspective.
correct.
Let him express
No. You
himself.
correct me on that. You can teach me
opportunity to
mathematics. You can teach me mathematics and economy, but you cannot teach me politics.
Oh, really?
That is the role of a member of parliament. Legislation, which is done in parliament. So when you see me in parliament, you see me doing legislation. When you don't see me in parliament, outside parliament, I do oversight, and that one can be done outside parliament. It doesn't necessarily has to be on the floor of the house. When you see me in the village, I'm doing what we call a representation. So that is my role. So do not accuse me that I should always be in parliament 24/7. That is why we normally have recess. That is why we normally have breaks. That is why we normally have other activities outside parliament. Secondly, you know when you look at we are all politicians, including even the president is a politician. So when you blame politicians, blame all of us, including the executive, because the executive is a politician, the president is a politician, the governor is a politician. So just blame wholesome. Third, I would wish also to dispute the question that he's claiming, BICHACHI is claiming that I'm condemning the roads. I'm not condemning the roads. I've never even stated in my submission that roads are not an issue. Roads, like I said before even he came, is part of the infrastructure that we need in our country. Just like if we want industrialization to prosper in this country, then obviously the first element is infrastructure, roads. So I'm not saying roads are not good for us, and there is no one who is actually, there is no politician, a sane politician who will tell you that we don't want roads. There is no sane. In fact, that is actually the basis of our fights in the villages. People want roads, majorly roads, because those are the issues that people normally use for economic undertakings. So I'm not in that class of people who would wish to blame the government wholesomely on all the issues. I'm only talking about the debts that we are having in the government. I'm talking about the corruption that we have in the government. I'm talking about the wastages that we have in the government, and those are the issues that we need to address. So the question of building so many roads and high debts in the country, it is upon them to charge. Another issue, which of course I don't want us to overlook, is a question of the money circulating in the pockets of the people of this country. When you look at it from economic perspective, those of us who are laymen in questions of economy, we don't even look at those. We look at how much money is circulating in the villages, how much money is circulating in the pockets of the people. The cost of living is rising I don't even know at what rate. The cost of living is rising. There are no money circulating in the pockets of the people. There are no employments. You know, when the economy has grown tremendously, there are so many employment opportunities. But when you look at currently, we do not have the employment opportunities. That tells you the economy is not doing good. When you look at the cost of living, that tells you the economy is not doing good. When you look at the money in circulation, that tells you the economy is not doing good. So I don't know what BICHACHI is talking about, the GDP and all those other ballooning issues. Me, I'm not a student of economy. But I look at it from the layman's perspective. Do we have the money? I feel of it. Like he's talking about the Kibra and so many other areas. Like yesterday I was looking at Pokot. Was it Pokot or Turkana? People are dying of hunger. And it is because of simple things. Irrigation, no water, no food, no money. And we cannot say, we cannot just sit back and say, because we are in positions of government, like we are members of parliament, we are not supposed to complain. That is our role as oversight. That is my oversight role, to ask the governor, to ask the president, to ask the PS or the CS why this is not happening. It is my role. I'm not complaining. I'm asking. I'm oversighting.
All right. The questions for you, Bichachi. One is, when you talk about all these numbers, GDP, billions, 70 billion, 100 billion, 200 billion, when we speak about it, do you see it in the people? That's one question. Two, you've said debt is better than taxes. Taxes has been one of the biggest conversations in the country, especially you talked about the levies that were put on the fuel. Kenyans were on the streets, they were demonstrating. The other day saw the price of unga is going up by more than a third. The price of cooking oil, if you shop in the supermarket these days, you can, if you take in 10,000 and enter into a supermarket, you'll walk with only a bag on your hand. So when you talk about all these things, taxes, you're saying that is better than tax. That doesn't mean that Kenyans are not being taxed. Secondly, when you talk about the numbers and the billions, do you see it? Where you see? Do you see it in the people?
You know, I like to use facts.
Okay.
I don't like to use feelings. Now, according to the World Bank, and a total of 4.5 million Kenyans are escaping poverty. Poverty has declined as of February 2019 from 46.8% just 5 years ago to 36.1% of the population. Now, you see, the thing about growth and GDP growth is that it grows. It is such a big pie separated into very small pieces. This is what I mean. If I woke up today and I told you my hair has grown by 6%, you would not notice the difference. GDP growth is calculated year on year.
Okay.
And you look at the quality of your life over time. I'll give you an example. If you stay in Eastlands, for example, and the sewage is being improved, and the water system is being improved, you will notice that your water has started coming, instead of once a week, it's coming 4 times a week. Is it the perfect 7 times a week? No. But it's an improvement. Okay. Now, this is a question of, can I measure improvement? Yes, I can. Because one of the things that, even let's look at something happening now, hunger. If you remember the 90s, hunger used to be a yearly occurrence. If you remember the 2000, it started becoming every 2 years.
Is now, it that the government has done it? Because that's a drought issue.
No.
Does it mean that the government controls climate?
Drought mitigation issues. Yes. Okay. Drought mitigation. If you look at this year even, I remember 3 years ago, I myself went to Baringo to try and help a village with food. Today, if you follow what the government has been doing in those same villages, thanks to the legislation passed in parliament around the contingency fund, billions of shillings have been made available to help those suffering with hunger. Of course, there are issues around, there is some corruption that has been reported and things like that. But have things improved in this country? Yes. The transport network has improved. The hospitals have improved. Education buildings have improved. Electrification has improved. Kenya has been awarded globally for the rural electrification programs we have. So these are things that you cannot expect 100%, and this is where people make a mistake. You see, we are a developing country. We are not a developed country. So what that translates to is we are carrying our people out of poverty. We are improving our road networks. We are improving our hospitals. But what I want to correct Mheshimiwa on, and this is very critical. You know, Mheshimiwa dodged my question by me asking the whole of the brigade that says the government has done nothing. Which bill have they presented before Parliament? Because that's the true oversight, true representation of the people. What bill has been represented to say that what Kenyans need most is wheelbarrows? Where is that bill? Where? You know, let me tell you something. There's this promise that after Uhuru goes, we will do these amazing things. And you tell us every day you've got the numbers. And not only do you have the numbers, you've got the people and God. Now surely, where is the bill? Where is this bottom-up bill? It is not there. And that is where my chagrin comes. It is okay to listen to people. It is okay to join Mark Bichachi, the big mouth, and just talk about issues, because I don't have an office to go to where I can pass a legislation. But my question is, where is the legislation? Among the Tanga governors, where is the bottom-up model? Where is it? Can we go to Uasin today, or Baringo, or Bomet, or Narok, and see a model of this bottom up? Where is it?
You know, Bitok, I think Bichachi is confusing. Bichachi is confusing campaign strategies and slogans and of course the agendas people have when they want to be president. This is a Jubilee government. This is not a Tanga government. And a Jubilee government is trying to implement whatever they had in their agendas when they were campaigning. When we talk about the bottom-up economy, it is something that we want to implement in the next government. So you cannot dare ask that where is the legislation towards that particular issue. When we take over the government is when we can now bring all those issues. Remember, and you need to understand this. I thought you are a very good economist. You need to understand when we talk about the bottom up and empowering the youth, empowering the people themselves. How do we do that? You had even the proponent of that bottom up economy talking about inducing or putting money on towards those particular agendas that he's talking about. How do we empower youth? We empower youth by allowing them to access resources, access money, either in terms of loan, either in terms of grants and all that. How do we empower women? We empower women by introducing a certain like we used to have Wezo and all that. So we used to have. It's no longer. It's not even functional. The Wezo is not functional.
It's okay. I shall let you
it's not functional. You ask me because that is where also that is what we normally legislate on, and that is what we normally oversight. Wezo has not been functional. So these are the issues which people, especially our wing, is talking to. We are talking to the people that how do we change the economy of this country? We cannot use trickle down like what some people are proposing, like what Bichachi is proposing. We cannot use trickle down. It has been used severally and it has never worked. How do we empower people from the ground? How do we make these people have money or even develop our country themselves? We know we are trying to use the government to develop the country, but instead we should use the people themselves to develop the country, to give money to this country by doing business, by participating in the economic upside of the country. So we are not, it is not about what we are talking about now. It is about what we want to do if we were to take over the government. This is a Jubilee government. The president is Uhuru Kenyatta. You cannot say the deputy should have done ABCD unless we are talking about another country where the deputy is acting as a president. This is a government of Uhuru Kenyatta. And even if the deputy president had ideas and the president is not for those ideas, he cannot implement them. So we cannot blame wholesomely that why is the current deputy president talking about issues which he should have implemented in the current situation. We cannot obviously blame him for the failures or the successes, majorly successes of the government. Because he's not in control. It is the president who is in control. So when we talk about legislations, well, that is why I was telling you, Bitok, in the first instant, why are people rooting for voting suit, 6-piece suit? Because they want members of parliament to come and legislate for their policies, which they want to implement. They want members of parliament to pass budgets, which they would want to use in meeting the agendas they had actually promised the people.
All right, so let's move. I think we've not so much on that. Let's move
sorry. You know, as someone who likes the truth, if you go to Kenya News, the Kenya News Agency, you will see that on 24th August 2021, 41 groups received 11 million from the Uwezo Fund. If you go to Uwezo Fund website, you will know they've disbursed more than 6.95 billion. So
let me tell you about that, because I also need to correct you on that, so that you can condemn not. I mean, you can discuss it. The Uwezo Fund was 6 billion Kenya shillings. That was first released and given to the people. Now, what happened? We were supposed to inject more money to this kitty, but instead the government has never injected. What has been happening is that the 6 billion are meant to be returned by those who had borrowed. What you are talking about is what is circulating around the borrowed money. But you see, our intention, this was 6 billion, which was meant for a re-election. But our intention was that, and our agreement with the Jubilee government was that we were going to inject every year 6 billion on the Uwezo, so that, like if any of you were to ask those people who are benefiting now, the law is saying that it is those people who had returned the loan which was borrowed who are meant to be beneficiaries. So that is the problem that we are having with the Uwezo Fund.
You see, now you've changed from it doesn't exist to it exists.
No,
with
Uwezo Fund.
But you see, you've just stated the intention of any fund. Funds exist. For example, the Kenya Mortgage Refinance Fund is supposed to fund people to get mortgages, and as they pay back, they get more people. It's the same model that HELB has. The point I'm making is this, and Gerald, I want to keep this very brief.
So that we move forward.
If you go to the Democrats, for example, in the United States, or you want to go to the Social Democrats in Germany, or wherever you want to be, you will find, whether they are in power, waiting to be in power, or in opposition, their agenda is legislative, and they have papers, they have what do you call it, a whole portfolio of things they intend to do, and they push for them whether they're in government or not. Any politician who tells you that he cannot push because he's in office but he's not really in office, he has power but he does not really have power, yet every weekend he's launching some government project and saying, look at what we've done, and then the next day he's saying, oh, look at how badly we are doing. Guys, let's not be pretentious here. Let us be honest. We are being promised slogans, and in the hope that these slogans will get them to power, then after that they'll try and figure out what to do. If it's about youth empowerment, there is Uwezo Fund, there is Youth Fund, there is YAGPO, there is CDF, there is a lot of government interventions, including the Ajira program, digital work, there is the internship programs. All of these things exist for the youth. So let's not pretend that there are no programs for the youth in this country. They can talk about enhancing them, I don't mind, but saying there are none is lying, bold-faced.
Okay, as we move on, let me just read the closing comments for that discussion. GDP is like women cosmetics, a poor reflection of what is underneath. The real deal is without cosmetics. Bichachi, the GDP is a lie. About First Monday, Mark Bichachi is very sober, and he has brought up a real talk here. All the people have always come here to abuse President Andrela. Okay, Arab Korib Kemba, General Bisose, I2 Mwesh, Jeshi Aruta Koimara, Engineer Kesa Letu Nikomulot, Frederick Sachs. Mark has come with determined mind to oppose Mwesh. He should realize that Ngeno is above that, and he avoided engaging him head-on. Okay, Terer Kilbert and Kipkebet. I'm following the show from Chepkele areas, Bomet County, Boniface Omondi, but no orange guys are complaining about the government. It's only Tanga and Ruta whining. Okay, what guarantees do you have that all these businesses that will be funded will be successful? That's a question on the economic model. Titus says this Bichachi guy should leave alone wheelbarrow symbol. We know is political leaning. Let it tell us the symbol of the orange as Kenyans. All right. Ask most Tonish, ask Bichachi which bill supports orange that he is leaning to. Okay. Because I agree with Mark, the GDP of Kenya has grown. You can't basically see the growth of the economy. Right? William Wange, does Bichachi live in this country? He's just a spoiled kid who is not in touch with reality. Maybe for his own political gains. All he's saying about it is not bad. But our question is, at what cost does he think over borrowing and overtaxing is doing us any good? Secondly, educate the wheelbarrow is a party symbol, same as an orange and jogo. Bichachi, you can't be this backward. Okay, all right. Ask Mabur, which bill was presented to say that people need oranges? All right. Mera, there's a reason why GDP is not a good determinant of development, because it does not account for the levels of health, education, changes in equality of income. So Mark should know better than tout GDP. This is why people say they don't feel it. All right. Marvin Wamukra, BICHACHI is giving his opinion, and he shouldn't rant as he is correct. It's an opinion, and everyone else there as the fact is alluding to as skewed and is not in touch with reality. All right. Okay. Let me look at YouTube as well. There's an interesting thread here by Obed Kim. Let me try and read what I can read up here. Ngeno Mike, good morning, watching from Maralal, Sampuru County. Blessed Fang, morning GBC to JOANNA Ngeno. Morning GB Chris Kamau. Mwalimu Adinas, is Mark BICHACHI supporting the one-ton loans that the Jubilee government has been getting? What of the theft to BICHACHI? Wacha could be Bofala. Obed Kim, mine is a comment, a long one. All right. I want to read this thread by Obed Kim. What Uru presented is factual. So where is the challenge? Let us unpack GDP figures. Imagine that Kenya is one big family. Let us assume that some members live in Kikumini and others in Kitisuru. All right. The combined tally of economic activity and productivity for the shop, shambas, borders, salaries, etc. for the family members in Kikumini is 1 million, while that of in Kitisuru is 10 million. The combined GDP, economic output for the two homes, is 11 million. When the guys in Kikomini hear the patriarchy say we are worth 11 million, they cannot understand, because their quality of life is not reflected. Okay, it's what the patriarch says. What this figure doesn't show is the quality of life of each home. The guys in Kitisuru have access to well-equipped equipped schools, hospitals, schools, private medical cover, etc. The kids are dropped at ISK Peponi. Those in college drive to Strathmore, USIU, or are abroad. The Kitisuru family has a budget for holidays, club membership, etc. Food, shelter, and clothing is never a major talking point. On the other hand, the Kikumini family members only have NHIF, which gives them access to Kikumini or Mbuinzao dispensaries. The level 4 hospital is 60 kilometers away and is always fully packed. Right. If you need surgical procedure, the surgeon's diary is super packed, such that you may be in queue for 2 weeks before you can be operated. The kids go to local primary and secondary schools. The primary school kids doing CBC don't own a laptop or tablet for learning. Makonge and Ndao are their local materials for accomplishing CBC assignments. Their teacher is 70% in mother tongue. The teacher is in mother tongue mode and doesn't even have a smartphone. Consider another critical aspect in economic activity: credit. All right. Okay. While the Kitisuru family can borrow from KCB or equity at 14%, the guys in Kikumini have micro and digital lenders such as SMAP, Tala, and Meshwari, who lend at 108% per annum, 9% per month at minimum. They throw in the village Shylock, and the cost of credit goes to 25 to 30% in the long run. If that is not addressed equitably and judiciously, the gap widens between the Kitisuru and Kikumini families. Other areas of interest for both families are access to clean water, electricity, etc. The family in Kitisuru has water throughout. The family in Kikumini could be relying on unclean water, etc. I think that is an amazing description of an economy I've seen in a very long time. So the gospel of the man in Kitisuru and in Kikumini is different. They're all right. The guys in Kitisuru are right to say that we are at 11 million, and the guys in Kikumini as well are correct to say that we don't have.
The question is,
where do you fall?
Kitisuru.
So I think the problem now is the disconnect of where both of you are coming from.
But you see, let's be very clear, okay? And this is a dangerous narrative. I'll tell you why. We are a developing country.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. And I'll insist on this: developing country. We've got a poverty rate of 36.8%, and if you look at it, in fact, if you look at it in terms of real numbers, it could be higher. Now, this is not a fact of right now. The family in Kikomini did not become poor today. Let's be honest. The question is, and this is the most important question, is there a ladder for the person in Kikomini, the person in Burumuru, the person in Nakuru town, and the person in Joro, where I was born? Do they have a ladder to success? What are the factors needed to succeed in a country? What are the factors needed to ensure that this person in Kikomini can change his life 10 years from now. Number one, access to education. So we've got to ask ourselves, are we improving access to education? Yes. From Kibaki's free primary education all the way to 100% transition, all of those opportunities, even though we are not at the point where education is free in this country, we are getting somewhere. It is important. If I show you pictures of my primary school, you will not tell me about Kitisuru. I've tasted poverty more than most of you.
And you ran away.
Number two, not ran away. I used the ladder that was available. I took my primary school education serious.
And you've never gone back to see those people you left there.
Oh my goodness, are you serious? I am one of those people who's taken my money and gone to Baringo and donated without putting it on social media, without running for politics because I donate for people. I do not go to church to give money to floss because I'm a proper Christian. You know, Jesus said when you give, your left hand should not know what your right hand is doing. So if you do such embarrassing things and then want to judge me because I don't, shauri yako. So let's continue. Number two, access to healthcare. Access to healthcare. Do we have more hospitals today than we did 10 years ago? Yes. Do we have more level 5 hospitals today than we did 10 years ago? The answer is yes. Do we have more clinics and dispensaries and more nurses and doctors? Yes, we do. Number three, infrastructure. Do the people in the village and even the road, the Mau road that was launched the other day, do they have access to better roads? Which means access to better business opportunities, access to better hospitals, access to better schooling? Yes. So what you need to understand is if you're going to underpin a society and build it and rescue it out of poverty, you've got to do those three things. Now, is the government doing those things? Yes. And by the way, I am not an ODM member. I don't know why people, when they are told good news, when I'm talking about Tanzania, I'm telling you about your own country. God damn it. I'm telling you about your own country. When you tell me about Chungwa, let me tell you. I am I'm just telling people, if someone comes and tells you your GDP has grown, how can you ODM owns GDP? Let us be very clear. I am not a member of ODM. In fact, I do not yet have a presidential candidate. No, for ODM. Why? ODM. No. There's only one party I disagree with because your economic model does not even make sense to yourself. You understand? It's only one party I disagree with. And let's be very, very honest and clear that number one, we have poverty in this country, but it is not a poverty that is brought about because of Kitisuru versus Kimenyi or Kikomeni. No. Yeah. Let us not go down the path of hustler versus dynasties. No. Let's not go down that path because there is no single one of us who chose where we were born. You think I did not want to be Princess Diana's son? Are you serious? You understand? We move on from the economy. Poverty has a right to rise.
There's another interesting.
Let me just clarify a few things. I like the analysis of that person who gave us between. And
he has also introduced another twist. Human Development Index. He's not talking about Human Development Index. And they say that's what we are avoiding. As we talk about GDP, we are avoiding talking about Human Development Index. What is the feel? What is the
exactly that is what I was asking. That is the first question I was asking my brother from Kitisuru. Which I
live in Karen.
Which is of course Kitisuru was just.
I'm giving you the accurate one. I live in Karen.
Let me tell you, the serious analytical statement given by that person who gave us Kitisuru live versus Kikumini is actually what my friend Bichachi should have learned from. He said he came from a village sometimes back, but he ran away from that village. He's never gone back. The only reason why I really support this hustler, hustler was a hustler at some point, and he has grown. He has developed. He has gotten a few cars here and there. He has gotten a few land here and there. But he has never forgotten to go back to those very same people he grew up with in the village. That is why he's introducing what Kenya is using now. When people talk about the wheelbarrow as if it is a tool, a crime tool, this is exactly what people are using almost in everyday life. These are you know, these are tools which people normally, equipments which people normally use in the villages, equipment people normally use in that life of Kikumini. So what I think my friend Bichachi is failing to understand is that he's a town guy. He's a cool guy from town. He doesn't even understand the proper life in the village currently. I don't think even this gentleman understand what we call Fuliza. If you were to ask any Kenyan now, other than those who are from Kitusuru, they will tell you how they owe Fuliza. And I heard the former prime minister actually talking about it sometimes back in a very funny way, because I think he also doesn't understand it. That when you want to send somebody money nowadays, you will have to ask that person, which number would you want me to send you that money? Because 3/4 of Kenyans would not want you to send money to their real numbers, because there is Fuliza in that number. That is what people from Kitusuru don't understand. When you talk about CRB, not so many people understand the CRB. I mean, not so few people who are from Kitusuru understand what CRB is. There's so many Kenyans now who have been listed in CRB, and not for so much money. 20,000, 10,000, 5,000. You know, when you talk about CRB, and this is where I think the president was trying to come in, and I've never understood, because it has never been implemented. The president said, let us enlist those people who have 5 million and above. But today, currently as we speak, almost 80% of Kenyans are listed on CRB, just because of 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 of Fuliza, or some other amount they borrowed from maybe some other banks. When you go to the village, and this is where my brother don't understand, you know, we interact with the villages. We go to the village as members of parliament. We interact with them. We feel them. We feel what they feel. When you talk about, for example, bursaries in the allocation we normally have in CDF, the number of people who come for that money is alarming. That tells you there is no money in the pockets of the people. People can come even as low as 1,000. They will ask you, allocate my child only 1,000. Can you believe that? Can somebody from Kitusuru understand that? They will never understand, because these are people who take their children to school where they pay per term 200,000. They will never understand this. When you talk about the churches, like donations we normally make on churches and all that, you know, we build churches, like what Solomon was told by God. You know, David wanted to build a synagogue, and God told him, no, please don't. I will give you a son who will do that. Why did Solomon build a church? Because he wanted where people can worship. So when we build churches, please be church. You attend a church, but you don't even know who built that church. You only go there and pray and run away and give your whatever donations you have in form of sadaka.
Don't go to church.
In form, or you don't go to church.
Jesus,
then that is
the Holy Spirit left the temple.
Thank you so much. Let's talk on the question of. There is a question of. There's a question of hospitals, which I think Bichachi described recklessly. That there has been a very serious improvement in question of medication in this country. You only need to go to Kenyatta Hospital, Pumwani Hospital. You go to Mbagathi Hospital. You go to MTRH in Eldoret. You go to these district hospitals. Go to referral hospitals, and you will cry. You know him, he goes to Nairobi Hospital, he goes to Mata Hospital, and Karen Hospital. He doesn't understand all these things. We are the people who pay bills for those people who go to these other small hospitals. And you go there, you just cry. These are government hospitals. There are no medicine. There are no doctors. There are nothing. People die there. You queue. Like what somebody said. You queue for almost 2 weeks. You had an accident. I went to Kenyatta Hospital some times back. I had a problem somewhere. And I went there. And I found somebody who had an accident. Muguu ilikatika. And queuing there for 1 week. I was shocked. That person has been bleeding to death. So that is the state of the hospitals we have in our country. But you see people who come from town. Watu wa jiji kama Bichachi hawezi elewa hizi vitu because he's from Kitusuru. Maliza Bichachi very quickly.
Let me tell you, the mheshimiwa here is trying to use my stance that I refuse to use. People are not stooges and props to use for political gain. I'm one of those people who finds it absolutely distasteful for anyone to go to a children's home and show off the unga and the ugali that they have brought. Those of us who support many families, those of us who go to Mutuini Hospital there in Karen, where I know the nurses and everyone understands what people go through. Those of us who have people we support every month to pay their rent, and we are not corrupt, and we don't have CDF to give. We give from our own pockets, from our own sweat. But we will never come out to brag about it. Finally, God did not ask us to build physical buildings.
Okay.
He says he no longer dwells in buildings. He said he wants to dwell in the hearts of men. So what we've done, no, I'm quoting the Bible. This is the problem. He wants to dwell.
You guys have become very inspirational.
He wants to dwell. God is express. He wants to dwell in the hearts of men. So what we do and what we spend our time doing, Mheshimiwa, is we spend our time developing fellow men every day of our lives. You will not see it on Twitter, you will not see it on Facebook, because like Jesus, when we heal someone, you tell them keep quiet, don't tell everybody, because he said if you do things to be seen by men, you've already received your reward on earth. Expect none from God.
But even that statement was written. Remember Paul when he was in Athens, he went to a church, a synagogue, which was built by men. Remember Solomon built a synagogue.
He was kicked out of the synagogue. But anyway, he was.
There was a war between the Islam
my
and
friend. Go read your Bible, and God says He has not light.
Okay, let's go from the economy now. Let's dissect the president's. Let's dissect the president's State of the Nation address. 6,000 words, 2 hours, 260 pages. The its and misses. I'll start with you, Weshimiwa.
You know, we are trying to go back to what we had actually discussed.
Nice. Just running through it very quickly.
When you look at what actually the president discussed, mostly it was the achievements that he has, which I'm not denying. I want to tell you that in the first term of his presidency, the president did a lot, including even in my constituency. You know, I never had tarmac road in my constituency, even a single kilometer of tarmac road in my constituency, which I have now. That was courtesy of Uhuru government in the first term. And the electricity connectivity in the villages, that one I also have. And so many other issues, which I think the Uhuru government in its first term managed to do. But when you look at now, when you look at several issues, the economy actually grew little by little. But you see, we don't, some of us, like I told you, I'm a layman in terms of economy. I do not look at the GDP. I don't look at what not. I look at what people have in their pockets. I look at how the people suffer in the villages. And that is when I know the economy is not good. I look at the employment rate in the villages and I realize that the economy is not good. Because I normally look at the people who come to my office and who normally meet me and asking for employment opportunity. And I tell you that country is broke. I look at healthcare, which actually Uhuru talked about as some of his achievements. And when you go to hospitals, you visit these small hospitals which our people normally visit, and you realize that there is a very serious problem. People, like for example, when you go to hospitals, especially during the corona pandemic, people are told that you cannot be treated using NHIF. Now, you know, NHIF is a contribution by members of the public. The government should have initiated in its own initiative, other than through even parliament, to pay or to cater for the medication of its people, because that is something, that is a pandemic. When you look at the facilities themselves, pathetic, no improvement. Even though we talk about most of these facilities have been devolved, still, even those that remained with the national government are in pathetic state. So the healthcare in our country is in shambles. When you look at the roads, yes, I agree with BICHACHI and many other Kenyans, that, and even the president himself, that he has done a lot in terms of developing infrastructure. That one, I give him. But that one was also done majorly during the first term. This second term, other than the corona pandemic, which most of these people are using as an excuse, I don't think it was corona that actually ravaged this country mostly. It is the politics that was introduced by the president and his brother during the handshake period, and the question of BBI campaigns and all that. I think that is what actually took most of the government's time, instead of looking at what agendas the government need to implement. It instead looked at the constitutional changes that wanted to change, which was not as important as it is, as they want us to believe. It is not a legacy that you would say, I want to leave. That is just a constitutional making process, which Kenyans didn't even were not interested in. What I think the legacy the president should have left is majorly on development that will be remembered. That is why we remember Kibaki, mostly because of the development record that he left behind.
Hi, Bichachi, it's and misses.
You know, I wish I was a politician.
Leona alifika mahali akasema nimechoka jamani. Nani aliandika? Kwani nani anaandika? Si yeye alikuwa anaandika kitu.
You know, presidents rarely write their speeches, eh? There are very few.
So it doesn't inspire the speech. Hata yeye alikuwa anasoma mara ya kwanza.
You know the famous speech Mr. Gorbachev tear down this wall, which literally made it was Reagan a hero, was actually conceived in a bar in Germany by one of his speechwriters. So he said it, but you know, speech writing is something I'm passionate.
Had he gone through it himself? Those things?
No, he had read it. He had read it. In fact, he's the one
and
who
he didn't get tired.
Who insisted to get it there. You know, you may dislike Uhuru, but I don't think him getting tired is anything bad. But
I was just wondering, because I was imagining if I'm speaking something that I believe in, then I would take time and more time. I thought you were the only ones who are tired. Then he was also tired.
When we talk, you and I have the gift of gab. Yes. We can talk for hours, but there are people who talking for this long. It will be a problem. It will be a problem. Now, let me just say that, number one, to say and compare Uhuru's legacy, CG first term, second term, is purely strategic talk on the part of Tangatanga, and it's brilliant if you ask me, because number one, the first term is so far people can't remember. Now, generally Kenyans, you know, our memory is very short.
You move on very fast.
So it's a brilliant strategy. I'll give it to them in terms of political communication. It is brilliant. And of course, it gives you the chance to say all the good things are mine, all the bad things are his. It's brilliant in terms of what they're trying to do. But I will not try to unpack what he has said. Let me go straight to the president's speech. I think the president. Yes. I think the president made a very good case for infrastructure. He made a very good case for the economy even, and healthcare and things like that. Let me tell you what has been my pain and amiss, because I've talked about the good things. Let me talk about what I think is amiss. I think we've not spent enough time talking about who a Kenyan is. We've not spent enough time discussing, when we build a road, who is the road user? When we build projects and all of these things, who is the person who's taking advantage of this thing? And I think the human development index of our country is where we miss it. Because number one, we still have a very toxic politics. You know, jamaa vitendawili, mchawi, mrogi, you know, mlevi. All of those things are things that can be said in a political rally. 2021. We still have a political environment where there is nothing we agree on. That if I say this is blue, and you're on the other side, you must say, no, it is orange, like people have said, that we have no common ground. And then even we are not even agreed as a society how we want our country to develop. We're not agreed about roads. We're not agreed about airports. We don't have a basic thing. And one of the things that for me is a miss again is the division between the president and his deputy. And for me, these things are important because it is an office. The presidency is an office. It's a unit. And in as much as they say it's democracy for two people to be completely out of sync with each other, I think Kenya will pay for it. I think the president's legacy will be totally tainted by the fact that him and his deputy could not find common ground. Because I do not think there's anything to oppose in the Big Four. I don't think there's anything to oppose even in the fight against corruption. The deputy president is on record saying he doesn't oppose the BBI. And then, he also said that reggae mesimama. I'm not sure where he stands on that one. He's mixed his mouth kidogo, but that's how he does things. The point is, I don't see what the issue has been. And their personal disputes, even when they talk about the tyranny of numbers and being able to pass things in parliament, to be honest with you, can you imagine a situation like we had in 2010 where our politicians were agreed about what we want? Oh, wait, except one. He was against the constitution. But most of our politicians were on one side supporting the constitution. And that is the first time our GDP grew by 10%. Okay. And there's power in unity, there's power in agreement. The opportunity that the handshake gave the Jubilee government and then the squabble between Uhuru and Ruto squandered was that we had the opportunity of having 5 years of peace and 5 years of proper work. But for political expediency, we know we decided we don't support, yet we support, all of those things that happened. And that for me is where the president missed it. The relationship between him and his deputy and developing the human psyche of the Kenyan person, we've not done it. If you look at how angry Kenyans are, how unhappy Kenyans are, it is a serious issue that we didn't deal with as a country, and that is the biggest failing. And that anger, that depression is reflected in the relationship between him and his deputy. It is reflected, when you see politicians mixing their feet, it's reflected because the deputy president will go to Jamhuri Day celebrations and say, your track record is excellent, your excellency, it is good, it is everything, it is flowery and it is rosy. Then you sit here with Mheshimiwa shuffling his feet and saying again, it is only in the first term. This superhighway, I don't know whether it was in the first term or not. This proposed road between Nakuru and Nairobi, is it the first time or not? Those mixing of things and the anger Kenyans feel is a trickle down of the relationship between the president and his deputy. It was not addressed. I think it is a serious issue, and unfortunately we might think it might end with this president and his deputy. It won't. And I always wonder to myself, if I go home and me and my wife behave like that, what will my children grow up to be like?
Okay, all right. Maybe they should be better parents than now. 2 questions that I want us to combine, then we pick calls. Now, one question is, in his address, Uhuru Kenyatta was in, when the Pandora thing came up, Uhuru Kenyatta was on international travel, he was in America, and he said, guys, I commend the report as an instrument to ensure that there is transparency in Kenyan governance, and when I get back to the country, I'll give you a detailed report on what the whole thing meant and what it meant for the country, and give us information on it. In this, he's back in the country. He's had several forums to address that. He has not, and in his address as well, he stayed off the Pandora question. That's question number 1. Number 2, the day before yesterday, he was in Nakuru, and it looks like he has finally endorsed Baba for president. Yes. And he has said, siasa ama uongozi siyo sprint, ni marathon. 2 questions. I'll start with you, so we can move very quickly.
On the issue of Pandora Papers or Pandora whatever, the president mentioned something to do with thieves in his statement that would have done a lot if people did not steal. Okay. But you see, as a president, he has the obligation to tell us who has been stealing. And he had the obligation also to explain to the country what Pandora was. What was in this saga. Because when you look at it, it is actually doubling or even quadrupling the other issues we have had before, like the Lyco Regency, and those other scandals we have had before. This is a scam that is bigger than many things, but the president could not come out to talk about it. I think there is a problem which the president have realized when they have been discussing the question of corruption. Like, we also had the question of KEMSA, which nobody has ever addressed, and the president had said the people who are concerned with that scandal will be done within 21 days. Nothing has ever happened from that. So what I would say is that the president has failed to address the question of corruption, because he has realized that other than those people he's been thinking these are the real thieves, he has also realized that he has thieves in his own backyard, which in one way or another is connected to him directly or indirectly. So that is why he's running away from the Pandora thing. He's running away from the question of corruption. He's running away from addressing those issues. Lastly, there is this issue of the president endorsing Baba in Nakuru, which is a good thing. I don't think I have a problem with that. The president has a right to endorse anybody and to vote for anybody. What I would want to tell you is that he may not have a very serious impetus or on the way people will vote, but it is within his right to endorse anybody, within his right to support anybody. After all, there have been he has some debts to pay to Baba. Which is doing it rightfully, because his father was endorsed by Raila's father, and therefore it is very important that he pays back the debt. So it is not a big thing. It's not something which I would only tell the nation that the people who voted Uhuru Kenyatta are over 8 million, and if there are some who died, then it would be something like 0.5% or even 0.00%. Okay. Those people are still sober. Those people are still around. Those people are still voting. And they know why they voted Uhuru Kenyatta with his debut, William Ruto. Sometimes I always talk about love. Love is not something you can transfer. You cannot transfer love. Where's bigger transfer mapenzi? The people who loved Uhuru Kenyatta in 2013 and 2017 may not necessarily be directly transferred to Baba, because you cannot transfer love. The way people loved him and what they saw in him and the reason why they voted him may not necessarily be the same reason why he is himself endorsing Raila. So I don't think Raila is so dumb enough to rely on Uhuru's endorsement. He's somebody who has seen dynamics in the political scenes in this country, say that he may not just lie there and expect that Uhuru's followers will follow him directly, because the reasons why people voted Uhuru are different from the reason why they might want to vote Raila Odinga. Okay. So I don't think it has any consequence.
All right.
Yep.
Number one, Pandora Papers. First and foremost, let's look at what is known. Number one, we know for a fact that...
Why has the president stayed off it?
He said that things that are not known. We know that it is known, which account, how much money was in the account, and we also know that the report clearly stated that there was no sign of any wrongdoing in those accounts. So let us be fair in that statement. But secondly, I join Mheshimiwa in this, that I think Pandora Papers, and I wrote an article in the paper about this, I think the Pandora Papers offered an opportunity to the president and this country. What is that opportunity? An opportunity to peel off the mask of hidden wealth and hidden transactions. And the president alluded to it in his response to the Pandora Papers, saying that it is time to lift the veil, as it were, from the people misusing these funds and hidden funds and hidden things. So for me, the longer the president does not act on Pandora Papers, the more he's giving ground for the corrupt to hide. I think this is something that is clear to everybody, and I think, and I would encourage anyone who advises the president, because it is no lie that the Kenyatta family is wealthy. I don't think anyone is going to doubt that, and therefore they have nothing to hide. We all know how wealthy they are, but there are people who have things to hide. Just the same way we know the deputy president was able to do chicken and then own Amaco, and then through chicken also buy the hotel on Langata Road and the different pieces of land that he has. Now that we know that, let us do that for everyone, including Mark Bichachi. Let us find out how he has the shoes he has, and this is important. So I think the president missed an opportunity in that, and then again, I also think that the deputy president should please write a book on how, from chicken to Weston, please.
But he has welcomed lifestyle audits for all times. In fact, when Matiang'i was exposing, he said,
lifestyle audit. I'm saying he should write a book, because that's an amazing story. Like, for real, like from chicken to Weston. I would love to read that book.
But what do you think?
But you should also read from carpenter to president. To a wealthy president.
Not carpenter. Kenyatta Senior story
was a carpenter.
Has been written. I'll tell you. It is very simple. I can tell you.
Yes.
I can tell you how it happened. Number one, Jomo Senior, Johnston Kamau, as he called, retired excellency, went to the UK, lived there for a number of years,
and came back.
Started. He was not rich. No, he was not wealthy. He started a paper. He was made an editor of a paper, because he was the only one who could write and speak
he was
English.
A reader.
And and then he was popular. And then there was the Mau Mau. He had initially nothing to do with the Mau Mau, but they claimed that he was, and the Kapenguria 6 were taken to prison, and then the guys who are free, Tom Mboya, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, J.M. Kariuki, all of these people thought that the best person to lead them was Jomo Kenyatta. And one of the things that Jomo Kenyatta did, which is very critical, and I'm sorry I'm taking your time to give you
land.
No,
and then boom, he became rich.
He's not become president yet. I'll tell you. Wait. Singoja nimalize story.
Nasikia.
Ngoja ndugu yangu, patience. So
who wrote the lion or the hunter?
Wait, 1961. I'm telling you where this land thing came from. 1961-62. The white settlers in Kenya were very, very concerned, and one of the things that was delaying our independence was that issue that they did not want to give up their land, because unlike many other parts of Africa, the Kenyan highlands were very ideal for the Mzungu, not just for agriculture, but also, my friend, it's not as cold as England. So there was a big issue, and Jomo Kenyatta gave a speech to the white settlers. I think it was in Nakuru.
In Eldoret. Was it Eldoret or Nakuru? It was in Nakuru, I think.
And he gave a speech, and if you listen to that speech, it was almost a Mandela-like speech.
Yes.
He brought peace and calm to these people, and then there was independence. Now, when independence came, there were two kinds of Kenyans that were there. There were the Kenyans who were switched on to the realities of land and getting land everywhere, and there were Kenyans who were not. Among the ones who were most switched on was Jomo Senior and his ilk. He was so switched on to it, and trust you me, the tracts of land that he came to own, and President Kenyatta didn't lie. In 2013, when he was asked in a debate, what about your father's wealth, and he said, willing buyer, willing seller, it was paid for.
which is good.
It-
Where did
no,
he get
just
the
let
money?
me finish.
Where did he get the
Let
money
me-
to
let
buy
me-
all those tracts of land?
Let me finish. One of the things that used to happen then is that there was what was this thing? Agricultural Finance Corporation.
Yeah.
Okay, if you follow, and this also happened during Moi's time.
Yes.
Okay.
You
A
borrow
lot of-
money, you buy land.
Yes.
Why haven't you
no,
followed also the same sentiments
me-
on Western?
let me-
Because somebody borrowed
let me
money from
finish.
KCB
Let me finish.
to buy Western, to build
let,
Western.
Let me finish. Let me finish. You know, all these things have been documented. That's why I can tell you the story.
Yes.
Okay. Then what happened, and it was disproportionate. If you are political, you are civil servant, and you are switched on, you got more loans. People got loans that they finished paying in the year 2000 from the 1970s. And if you look at even politicians during Moi's time, they had loans from KCB. They had loans from all of these banks that most of us couldn't. And that is one of the things that brought the imbalance we are seeing today. But see, let me finish the story. We get all the way to Uhuru. When Jomo Kenyatta died, the Kenyatta family had not converted that land to real cash. They were asset rich, but they were liquidity poor. You know, and now you can follow the growth of the different corporations they have.
Right.
Now I am no judge. I have not said Western was gotten badly. All I've said is the same way I can give Jomo's story. Can I?
But you are not the son of Jomo.
Let me give
Can
you
the son
the
of
story.
Jomo give
Let me
us
give you the Western story.
Can the son of Jomo give us the story with the loans?
and Muteshi too.
But anyway,
Yes, let me give you the Western story. No, let me give
Let's
you
go from that.
You know, it took a lot of time telling us the Jomo story, which was not even necessary.
Okay, all right.
Because
But
it
let
was
me give you the Western story.
Yes.
Somebody went to the bank,
as a biographer.
1 point.
Is this an authorized biography, or
It is.
we are doing hearsay?
It is.
Oh, so he has
It
authorized.
is,
Are you
yes.
writing his biography?
No, come on, man. Come on, man. How do you believe Jomo's story?
No,
And he's not alive to tell you whether
it's
it
been
is true.
collaborated
So
by many
what is that?
writers.
Writing a paper?
No, trust me.
You should hire me to write
It is not a sworn. It is not a sworn
It's not a
affidavit.
newspaper thing.
It is not a sworn affidavit. Let me tell you for free. Somebody also went to the bank, KCB
Yes.
bank, for
Yes.
that fact, borrowed money, bought and built Western Hotel. Somebody went to the bank, borrowed money, and built whatever you see around. If you want to follow that, you can go and investigate, and you will find out. You people, you know the problem. I sometimes don't like defending people who I don't know so much of their background. But you see, we get irritated when people are one-sided. You see, you should tell us how Uhuru is so rich, more than 500 times richer than the country. You will tell us how Moi is richer than the country, and these are people. You know, when we read the history of Moi, when we read the history of Moi, just relax. When we talk about Moi, who we love, he used to foot from his village for around 20 kilometers to the next primary school. But they are the richest people, and we are not even arguing anything over
Listen.
it. You know, when somebody struggles until
can
he
I
gets
tell you?
whatever he gets, either through the government,
Mheshimiwa,
either
have
through
you
the
forgotten
presidency,
how badly
either
I've spoken about the Moi regime?
the way you grew.
Have
My
I
friend.
praised the Kenyatta
Now you're telling us they are rich because of their hard
Let's
sweat.
move.
No,
Let's move.
because of their hard sweat.
There's a question that I'm expecting you to answer.
We're not disputing. We're not disputing. But you
There's something you brought up on BICHACHI.
when you dispute somebody's wealth from chicken to Western,
let's
as if from carpenter to owning 10,000 or 200,000 hectares of land in Kenya is not.
Let's go. There's a question I need to answer, BICHACHI. Let's move from, because those guys. Let's move from there.
Let's move from there. You can.
There's a question. Let's move on. All right.
The weekend run when no one gives
BICHACHI,
yes.
here's the question. No, you said accountability for Western. Anyway, he has account. They said the law that cases.
The
From
wealth.
chicken to Western.
Okay, fine.
Yes, from carpenter
But from carpenter
to almost 1 million.
All right,
hectares.
guys,
Yes.
let's move from that. Let's go from that. You can never account for that land, however
can
much
never.
you try.
Yeah.
Uhuru himself has
We
avoided
won't.
that conversation.
We just
Yeah,
leave
So
it.
let's move from
But
that.
I-
You say, don't blame me for my father's sins. So he knows their sins, but he says, don't blame
I
me.
said exactly how they were gotten.
All right.
I've said it's not fair.
Let's move forward.
I did not justify
All right,
it.
let's move. The
I've not
president,
said it's fair.
we're talking about the Pandora conversation and corruption issues that he has said he was going through. Does KEMSA told us that 21 days. He'll tell us who stole from KEMSA and who has been jailed. Now, let's move from that. The president for a reason, I don't know, I'm trying to get this. He has avoided lifestyle audit. He told us in Mombasa some 2 years back, and he said, mtajua mjui. You're going to lifestyle audit. Nasema itaanza na wewe, alafu huyu, anasema deputy president. Alafu huyu. He has never done it.
He ran away from it.
He has an opportunity to tell us about Pandora Papers, and now that money is there. Is it convenient for him to avoid this? Why does he avoid all this conversation around lifting the veil, as you call it, or peeling back the mask? Why does he avoid it? Does he live in a glass house?
To be honest, if there is something that I disagree with, is the lack of transparency among our leaders. I think that the president should have, and I am clear on this, that if indeed you're going to fight corruption, corruption is fought not only through the courts of law, not only through asset recovery, and we've done well. In fact, yesterday, assets were frozen. 9 luxury vehicles, I don't know, 50-something odd apartments for the CEO of our power utility companies. So yes, we are doing a lot there. But we must understand that corruption is a perception problem. Okay. How the look and feel, how it looks and feels when it is dealt with, is as critical as how it's dealt with. So if you look at asset recovery, it is absolutely doing something to fight corruption. That one, it goes without doubt. If you look at the successful cases, even the progress of the cases of like Aurora and Kimwarer, you can tell there is no doubt there is movement towards fighting corruption. But where we have failed, and this we must all agree, that if the president promised, for example, that there will be an audit of his lifestyle, of the deputy's lifestyle, Mheshimiwa's lifestyle, your lifestyle, my lifestyle, and everyone's lifestyle, then it is a promise he needs to keep. It did not come from us. You know, if it was something that we had said on this show he must do and he didn't do, then it's a different story. But it's something he promised the Kenyan.
So why do you think he avoids that conversation?
I think that I have 2 theories. Theory number 1, I will let Mheshimiwa say because it is obvious.
You can say it.
because he's already said it. He's already said it. But this is my second theory. Yeah?
No, just say all the theories. Max, speak out both theories.
I will say my theory.
He has already said it.
Let Mheshimiwa say
was for you.
Let me tell you my theory. My theory is this. This is my theory. I think that, and let me give an example of KEMSA. I think that when the truth is told about KEMSA, there are so many people on every side. In fact, let me not say I think, let me say what I know. There are so many people involved in KEMSA that affect people close to the president, people close to Raila, people close to the DP, people close to Kalonzo. It is such a death trap that, and this is the problem that the Japanese faced when dealing with the corruption of the Yakuza, and why it has taken them literally hundreds of years to unplug it. That you want to pull one cord and it's like a sweater, the whole thing will come down. Because one of the things that as president I think he needs to consider really is, how do you fight corruption without toppling your economy? It seems like an oxymoron, but corruption is so rampant in this country that our dark economy might equal our real economy.
So we have to keep it going.
No.
How much is it contributing to GDP?
Let me tell you. Let's have a sober conversation. I have told you I disagree with him. So this is not me defending anyone. These are my thoughts.
This is BICHACHI now.
This is me giving it my analytical mind. Yes. Okay. So this is no one's agenda. In fact, if it was anyone's agenda, I'd be dead now, because no one wants to be told what I'm saying now. Corruption in this country, especially among our top politicians, is so endemic. And the problem is that if you want to undo it, you must take very calculated steps to undo it. It is the reason why Al Capone was arrested in 1928 and the Teflon Don, I think one of the last mafia kingpins before the mafia went really underground, was arrested in 1988. It is not a simple thing. Let us be honest to the Kenyan people. It is something that is done systematically, slowly, and one of the reasons why I support asset recovery is because that is one of the least damaging ways to do it. Because you know what? Kenya gets its assets back. That's Mark BICHACHI's opinion.
I really allowed.
What's your opinion?
I really allowed my brother on this one.
30 seconds. Yes.
He just got it right. He just spoke the truth, and that is the only thing I've heard correctly from BICHACHI. The truth.
But I wish you could pass that first opinion first to you so that you can give us. There's a missing opinion.
Two stories. One of a king who had gave an order that if somebody was found to have stolen, remove his eyes. Then one day, among the victims was his son. He had to change the rule. Another story is that of Jesus, where people took a lady to stone. And then Jesus looked at them and then asked them, can the first person who knows has
without sinned
throw the first stone? And then when he looked up, there was nobody. I think that is a problem facing Uhuru Kenyatta. He cannot deal with corruption because it is exactly as explained by my brother, BICHACHI. But there is something only which BICHACHI missed. It is not going to topple the economy. It is going to topple the politique of the country. So if he was to deal with the corruption head on, it is going to topple the politics of this country, not the economy. It will actually correct the economy of this country, but the political side will be toppled. Just like he said, the people who are affected by KEMSA almost include everybody. Everybody.
It's all it's one big home.
Yeah. So if we were to deal with corruption in this country, then we need to bite the bullet. And I don't know how when...
Is the president ready to buy the bullet?
No, he's not.
All right.
He's retiring. The president cannot deal with it now. He's retiring. He wants to go home safe and happy. Because he has that Pandora.
And you guys need some energy. You need some energy in you. As the president has the balls to bite the bullet.
No, but
maybe you need to be biting something. The president doesn't.
You know what you said is so true. Now the question we must ask ourselves.
Right, as you ask,
very simple question.
This is sweet tunda.
You know, he asked.
Onja matunda kwanza.
No, ngoja acha niulize kwanza swali. You know, Atwoli asked, in whose hands are the Kikuyu safe? Me, my question I've been asking myself. The cut of corruption between the two top contenders, who will deal with corruption?
About the lesser devil. All right. Sweet tunda 100% dried fruit. I think intelligence in the form of guilt 100%. And for every purchase that you make, every support comes as well to us that ensure that we're still on broadcast, and also every shilling goes to the farmer to ensure that there is a mango to be dried. This sweet tunda, dried mango food. Unasikiaje bichaji? Mara mwisho kula kitu tamu kama ndio lini?
Well, when I kissed my wife last night.
Mheshimiwa matunda unasikiaje?
Iko poa. Iko poa.
100%. With 100% natural dried fruit from sweet tunda. And we can pale inaitwa Bantu and Bumper. So when you make a purchase of 1,000 shillings, the number is only 1,000 shillings. Ensure that we're still on broadcast, and as well every shilling goes to the farmer to ensure that they're able to make fruit and be able to make economic gains. Now, that is what we talk about the GDP. The GDP of the farmer will improve when you buy sweet tunda, because for every purchase that you make, money goes back to the farmer to ensure the GDP of the farmer is being felt, or the HDI. You called it Human Development Index. To ensure that you're able to make a purchase today of sweet tunda. It's very healthy. Fruit, healthy fruit. Instead of carrying a whole mango around, you can carry packets in your car. You munch a bit as you snack as you move forward. What do you think? I think you've tested. What do you think about it? It's good.
It's great.
I love it because it has no added sugar.
Zero sugar.
Mheshimiwa and I are trying to tame our vitambi. So no added sugar. I love it. tastes really nice.
Lovely. Alright. Sweet tunda.
But we must find out who owns sweet tunda.
Again. No, it's local. 100% Kenyan. As you can see, I'm Kenyan. I'm Kenyan, 100% Kenyan.
Good stuff.
But me, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind unless they are importing the
mangoes.
Yeah, the mangoes. But if mangoes are produced in Kenya, that is good for us.
I can assure you that. 100%
Absolutely.
Kenyan. Every purchase you make goes the farmer. So ensure that you take away a package, you take away a nampa this morning. A nampa comes with a granola, dried mango and dried pineapple. Bas. Good for your goodness. Haya. Asante. Mwana majamaa wa bunge wameamka tayari. Bunge la mwananchi 0779-800-010 0779-800-010 0779-800-010. Bunge la mwananchi liko wazi 0779-800-010. Alright. Mera, Mark needs to stop giving us tales. So the president promised us to deal with KEMSA in days. It's over here and we still don't know. Sasa, why defend the president who just gives us stories about fighting corruption, then goes around to tell us he will do what? He will not leave the country to thieves. He can't deal with it because he's a beneficiary. Alright? Kimtai Vini, what BICHACHI was talking in 2017 backwards is totally different from what he's saying today. Anyway, maybe aligawiwa nyama. Bunge la mwananchi jambo.
Bunge la mwananchi.
Mambo, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Salama sana, leta habari tusikia. Naongea na nani?
Huyu naitwa Ruben na call kutoka Qatar.
Yes sir.
Na nimewafuata kutoka asubuhi. Habari ya mheshimiwa na BICHACHI na nimewasalimu.
Tuko poa.
Tumesalimika kakangu.
Sawa. Mimi nataka nichangie vitu mbili. Kitu ya kwanza nataka niongee na BICHACHI. One, BICHACHI, when you talk of state of economy growing, I want to say it is not growing. Why? Because the information we are getting from World Bank is adopted information which are sent out to people so that they can digest that their economy is growing, but it is not growing because look at what is happening. People are losing jobs. People are getting out of work. The so-called COVID is making people become workless. So by so doing, when you look at the human capacity of development and the money into pocket, it's not there. But the World Bank will check on factors which they want them to talk about, and they will censor that as the growth of economy. Two, when you talk of poverty gauge line, you said about 34 or 36 poverty rate now. That was the poverty rate of Kibaki era. Right now, Kenya poverty has grown to around 54%, and that one is an indicator to show you how Kenyans are suffering, because many Kenyans are running away from Kenya to go out there to make living. In Kibaki regime, many Kenyans were coming from outside to invest in Kenya. So you can see the difference between when you talk of economic development and economic growing. Now, another thing I also want to tackle is when we talk of the local citizen, we don't talk of the big fish of Kileleshwa, people like Karen, people like Itusuru and others. We talk of the Manainji. This is the local citizen who is in there, Bomet, someone who is in somewhere in West Pokot, someone who is in Machakos. Those people, they don't have feeling whether the government has developed them. So, the economy in Kenya is just sinking, it's not growing. Thank you, and I'm happy to hear from you people.
Thank you so much, my brother. Thank you so much for calling in and also for tuning in this morning from diaspora. Amesema uko Qatar, ama amesema uko Qatar?
Niko Qatar, but I'm using Kenya line on Rome.
Alright, thank you so much. Salimia watu wa Qatar na Roma. Haya, thank you so much. 0779-800-010 0779-800-010. Bunge la mwananchi liko wazi. Naona Kipkwacha anauliza nambari ni umeiona pale. Bunge la mwananchi jambo.
Your call will be recorded.
Alright. Jambo. Bunge la mwananchi.
Hello?
Hello, hi.
Ongera.
Namna gani?
Salama, huyu ni Boit.
Yes boy, tuambie dadi. Napiga kutoka wapi?
Niko salama. Napiga kutoka Marekani.
Baada ya Marekani.
Salama sana. Mimi niko nachangia tu kwa one thing.
Alright, please.
About the bottom up economy.
Yeah.
I think that thing is a good idea. Like not to be specific like that in whatever, anywhere for the other bad. It works here in America. You see what Biden did. And in here like 4 months ago, and right now the employment rate is high. Like when they employ almost 4 million people. Because he gave money to the small scale farmers, business people, and that's where everything is. That's where economy is, you know. What of our big associate companies where they mess up the country the way Trump did, you know. So that's bottom-up economy. I think that's a good thing, and it will help Kenya a lot.
All right.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much, brother, from the US. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much for following us and as well for contributing to the show. Bunge la Mwananchi bado iko wazi, nambari ni 07798010 kwa dakika 5 tu ambazo zinakuja na tuweze kuondoka. 07798010. Bunge la Mwananchi liko wazi. 07798010. Kwa hiyo naona uliza namba ndio 07798010. Senator Steve Kipruta, Mandela, Nyerere and others were independent presidents. Do they possess these tracts of land? Patriots know their story. Bichachi documented history only exists in his mind. Lastly, economic revolution is not a fluke. Sloganeering is one that is putting the work is not easy. All right. On corruption, especially it comes, I agree with Bichachi. All right. Mera, what needs to stop giving us stress? So the president promised us to deal. I think I'd read that comment as well. The point. Let me see if I have anything new to pass. Bunge la Mwananchi, jambo.
Bari jao.
Sambo sana, habari ya leo?
Nzuri, salamia Ngeno, Jebo Mbumbu na Bichachi.
Amesalamika.
Kwanza nataka kuongeza huyo jamaa anaitwa Ngeno bana. Amefanya kazi nzuri kwa ground sana.
Thank you.
Tumekuwa na viongozi kama hao huko Bomet. Tumekuwa mbele.
Kumbe ako sawa ground. Nilikuwa nafikiria ni story ananipigia hapa.
Wewe jamaa amefanya kazi. I've been to his place so many times. Jamaa amefanya kazi mzuri sana pale.
Okay.
Hii maana economy ya Kenya by the way, maana hospitali Kenya hii the government hospitals you want to die quickly wenda hapo.
And we want to die quickly.
Yeah, uliza Ngena hata hospitali ya Longisa bana. Huko ni kama ni kifo. Ni shida, hata maji hakuna kwa hospitali. So hakuna hata madawa. So when the president tell us about the economy growing, and our people are dying because of lack of medicine, no water, these basic things. There is no way economy is going to grow and basic needs of Kenya or party.
Okay.
We are not asking for much things, bigger things, roads, what? Yes, unaweza kuwa na barabara, lakini kama uko na barabara lakini ukienda kwa hospitali hakuna madawa.
Lakini kama kuna hospitali na uweze fika kwa hospitali kakuja hakuna barabara, tutafika kweli tena?
Ni sawa kujenga barabara tukakataa. But tukakataa barabara, lakini saa zingine hata shule unapata wanafunzi saa hii wanafukuzwa kwa sababu lack of school fees everywhere. Kama una pesa bana uweze peleka mtoto shule, na shule za public schools imekuwa ni shida. So I think Uhuru anafaa hii vitu mingi zingine basic kwanza ndio tuanze nayo and then turuke kwa hiyo mambo mengine. So mimi sina mengi. I think Bichachi nimeona ana nini sana bana.
Anafanya nini tena Bichachi?
Jaja kwa one sided. Kwa nini analemea tu one man? Atatengeneza family. I don't know kama
na huyu jamaa analemea Uhuru je?
Why? Hapo da history paka family ya Kenyatta na Kido walitoa wapi? Ndio walitoa mali.
Sasa kana nasoma unataka nikose kusoma nikose kujua.
Ama kwa payroll ya Kenyatta family.
Na huko kwa payroll ya nani ndugu yangu? So pia unatetea
hata bwana najilipa.
Na sasa
I don't defend hata sikiza Bichachi, hata William Ruto akifanya makosa huwa anasemanga.
William amefanya makosa gani? Nipe example. Nipe example makosa William amefanya.
Na kuna makosa William amefanya sana amefukuzwa serikali bana. Ama
you see that is my point.
Sasa William unajua sasa history.
You see that's my point. You keep saying that we are paid because we don't support your guy. Unajua shida ya watu wa Tanga is if someone does not support you amelipwa. That just the same way you support William is the same reason. No, but sasa, let me ask.
Our mind. I can speak my mind.
Yes.
Now, we can agree to disagree.
Yes, without saying I've been paid.
But the way you defend this family, but I don't know how you defend them a lot.
How have I defended the family?
Sawa bro. Haya tuonane tena Monday. Thank you so much. Na pleasure. Na hapo ndio tunafungia bunge la Mwenyenchi 11 minutes past time. Thank you so much. Na kipoa ask again Mr. Ngana, why is legislative oversight done if not in parliament? Is some more like it was alright. Also corruption especially comes I agree with BICHACHI. That as well. Alright. Thank you guys. It's been a pleasure having you. I'll give you an opportunity to give your last tackles of the day. I'll start with you, BICHACHI.
Well, my last thought is this. Number one, there is absolutely free reign in dissecting the thoughts and ideas the politicians give us. And you have absolutely free reign to totally dislike the ideas and disregard them. It does not make you enemies. But what is important is we must interrogate everything our politicians are throwing away. We must interrogate whether we can give 6,000 shillings to every poor Kenyan. We must also interrogate whether the bottom up is what is going to work.
Yes.
We must interrogate it. We must question it. And questioning does not make anyone an enemy. Okay. So if there's a last thought, dear people who think I am against people. No, I'm not. I love my Tanga brothers. I dislike their philosophy as a person. I dislike it. But can I have tea with Mheshimiwa? Yes. And that's where we need to be. Where we can disagree and it's not about payrolls.
Good.
Mheshimiwa, your tackle of the day.
You know, if you want to be a politician, learn to listen to the ground.
Okay.
Because it is a ground that will determine what you can be. If you also want to know whether the country is making any progress, listen to the ground.
Okay.
When you look at what is happening now, and this is where people like BICHACHI never understand. You know, they are so elitist that they do not understand how the ground is moving. What I see currently, and this is something which I actually said the last time I was here, the kind of revolution that is going on today in Kenya is not even Ruto made.
Okay.
It is only that Ruto was so sharp to understand the dynamics in the ground and the feelings of the people in the ground.
Okay.
And he took it upon himself as a responsibility to lead those people to achieve what those people want to achieve. So when you talk about these wheelbarrownomics and all that, it is not majorly about the wheelbarrow. It is about where the people are at the moment, the level of poverty at which the people are at the moment, and somebody is addressing that problem, and that is why people love that movement. So it is feeling the ground. It is understanding what the ground say. And this is where the president should read from. That the ground is ripe for an economic revolution, a political revolution. Why? Because there is no money in the country. And the country is collapsing economically. Yep.
All right. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming in. It's been a pleasure having you. Thank you guys who have been with us as well on YouTube and on Facebook. Thank you as well to the members of the Bunge la Mwenyenchi for calling in and giving your contribution. It's been a pleasure having you the day on the Friday, the 3rd of December 2021. Tarehe imekuwa 3 mwezi wa 12 mwaka 2021. Tunafunga wiki. Hope to see you again on Monday, the Common Sense edition. We will enjoy your weekend and take care. This is a tackle and it ends now. Lakini make sure umeenda kutafuta nini yako. Sweet tunda yako pale, wakisha kwamba unaweza kupata products ya afya zaidi 100% dried fruit, 100% natural, no added sugar. See you and bye bye.